Let's get more upbeat because we have Big E versus Cesaro. The New
Can I
Day.
just say, I absolutely freaking loved the juxtaposition of sad Daniel Bryan might never wrestle again to it's a new day.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
my god. And it was even better because they're freaking heels now. And that worked so well. The crowd hated them for trying to make the crowd feel happy about Daniel Bryan not being around for much longer.
yeah. For me, feeling so meh overall about this Raw. Again, despite the fact that there was some good stuff, this was brilliant placement when we talk
Yes.
about booking and everything.
And
This
like we've had problems, like we've actually like pointed out issues with stuff like this before where like something really sad happens and then like this happy, like I think there was a point, it might have even been last year, where Daniel Bryan cut a promo like this and then freaking tons of funk music played and they were baby faces and it made no sense whatsoever that you would like try and cheer people up like that after a segment like that. Like that's when you cut to commercial. But in this case, it works so well.
You know why it worked even more, though? It wasn't just the idea that it was the New Day, though that was a huge part of it. I'd say like 95%. But again, I have to give credit to the man I believe to be the star of this thing, Xavier Woods, because he name drops Bryan.
Yep.
And he takes advantage of that. That's getting your heat. I love it, dude. I love that he had the presence of mind to say, wait, we can use this and we can, use it to the benefit of our gimmick. And they say, Daniel Bryan is gone, but rejoice because it's a new day, like rubbing it in their faces. For as tragic as Daniel Bryan's, preceding segment was, New Day just continues to be brilliant. I can't believe how much a heel turn has really revitalized these guys. I mean, I talk about John Cena being like, his whole segment being the highlight of Raw every week. If we're talking about characters and just performers, New Day, I think, are consistently being the best thing about a Raw, in the context of whatever they do, because I love the promos they cut, three capable athletes in ring. It's just great all around. And this is where we find out our 2 out of 3 falls matchup, at Payback for the tag team championships. And then, we get Big E versus Cesaro. Solid matchup here. I enjoyed it. Anytime you see Cesaro in the ring, the guy's a beast. I love what he does in there. Just such a great athlete. Love that he's with Kid. I mean, yes, I really felt like around this time I should have been talking about Cesaro versus Lesnar, or maybe Cesaro even just competing for the WWE World title. But if he was to do anything, this tag team is wonderful. So can't really have too many sour grapes. Kid isolates everything. He takes out Kofi Kingston, who Cole mistook for Xavier Woods, and they took out Xavier Woods, who Cole mistook for Kofi Kingston. So nice job there, Cole. Real nice.
Speaking of racism,
Yeah, really, right? Like, Cole was really out about it. I even said, like, Cole, you mean Xavier Woods the first time, and then Kofi Kingston the second. I don't know, it was crazy. But I really just kind of facepalm there. Cesaro gets the win after a unique pinning combination, actually. He doesn't hit the neutralizer or anything like that, or even an uppercut that just, rocks Big E to the point where he can't answer a 3 count. No, he gets this weird pinning combination. I thought it was really cool. Shows that Cesaro's got plenty of bags of tricks that, he hasn't showed us yet. So Cesaro gets the win. Team Uppercats have some momentum going into Payback, and I think these guys could really put on a clinic. I really can't wait for their matchup. We find out about the elimination pay-per-view, of course, May 31st on the network. Then we find out we're going to do Sandow and Axel versus the Ascension at the Payback pre-show. Then Bray Wyatt comes out, and he pretty much says, we're constantly being sold fear about the economy, a dying earth, and all that other stuff. And then Wyatt talks about Ryback's fear, and he says, Ryback, you had fear when you shattered your ankle and you thought that you would never compete again. And he talks about nightmares and how he's the stuff of nightmares and Ryback's nightmares and how he's going to take care of Ryback. I'm assuming, again, that they have a match at Payback. I don't know if that's been officially confirmed. But then Ryback storms the ring, and him and Wyatt have a little bit of a back and forth. But Ryback does stand tall. He spinebusters Wyatt to kind of send him out, kind of beats his chest, gets a feed me more chant going. And Wyatt just kind of smirking. on the floor. I still will say I love that about Bray, that he never really shows fear or intimidation. You know, when he gets beat up, he kind of revels in it. So I think he has found himself a fun challenge with Ryback. And again, I have high hopes for their match at Payback. So
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I mean, if you want to move on, we can.
yeah, absolutely. And then we go to our main event segment, Seth Rollins.
Of course.
Yeah.
I really like. It sucks because I feel like wrestling shows typically you want to watch the opening segment and the main event, and if it's like a 2-hour show, then you want to watch the like the middle segment, the 1 hour, the first hour main event. But with Raw, it's like you can skip the opener and the main event and really not be any worse for wear because they're all the same. They're all the intros are freaking promos. All the main events are freaking tag team matches or handicap matches that get disqualified for interruptions and interferences.
Oh, completely agree. You know, it's like one repetitious kind of note. 4 segments like this. I mean, I enjoyed it. I feel like Orton and Rollins have great chemistry, but I'm kind of over this feud now. They had one really cool sequence, I have to give them their due, where they were kind of trading moves back and forth, and it ended with Orton getting an exploder T-bone suplex, because Rollins even landed on his feet with the backbreaker. That was a really unique counter. In the end, though, you know, it was a DQ because J&J security interfered. You know, Kane comes out and he grabs a chair, but he's just kind of standing ringside. And then, you know, overall, like all 4 guys in the ring for the Fatal 4-Way are there. Seth Rollins gets his ass handed to him again by these 3 guys. The only time he got momentum was on last SmackDown, where he stood tall with that contract signing. First, he eats Dirty Deeds. Then, you know, they're all kind of looking at Kane. I love it. They check it every time to make sure he's not going to do anything with that chair in his hand. He's just watching everything unfold. Then Orton and Ambrose pick him up, and Reigns hits him with a spear that the crowd is into. Then Reigns and Ambrose pick up Rollins, and he gets dropped with an RKO. And then these 3 guys do what they've been doing, and they turn on each other. I don't know how all the 3 guys didn't see this coming, because Orton eats a spear then. And then, what I really liked, Rollins, you know, spins Reigns, or not Rollins, Ambrose spins Reigns around. Yeah, Rollins is just too busy being passed out. And he plants Reigns with Dirty Deeds. So we talked about intelligent booking earlier with the placement of the Daniel Bryan and New Day segments respectively. Really smart to have Dean Ambrose stand tall in his hometown. The crowd was really hot for this. You know what, though? Again, I'm such a mark because I saw Rollins' championship in the corner. I'm like, go and pick it up, Dean. Your crowd is going to explode if they see you hold that championship. Go and pick it up. And he didn't. He was really pumped up. But it was a great way to close, having Dean stand tall. I loved it. So I do have to give him that. Nice way to close, and a nice punctuation for the go-home show. Again, I'm not really crazy that Kane is like this big decider or whatever, or will he stay or will he go, and I'm not into it. But this Fatal 4-Way should be a lot of fun at Payback, so good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that the main event was, it felt more like a means to an end, because at the end of the day, what this main event was really about was Dean Ambrose standing tall.
Yeah, completely agree.
So, and that was awesome.
Yeah, definitely. So. All right. Next segment, high spots and low shots. You know what? I'm going to say that my low shot is Seth Rollins. You know, here's the thing. And again, I have to bring up the point I brought up in the middle of the show. For one thing, Triple H didn't deal directly with Kane like Rollins wanted. Second of all, he was all boastful to Kane. Well, if the Authority was here, they wouldn't be doing to me what you're doing to me, you know, putting me in matches, coming up with these, you know, cockamamie stipulations, putting my championship at risk. Triple H comes back 1 week, puts Seth Rollins in the ring against, you know, Randy Orton. You know, the guy that did that magnificent RKO to him at WrestleMania. You know, nobody special.
Yeah.
And then Rollins eats 3 finishers to close the show. Talk about
which was pretty glorious.
Oh, and Triple H, even though I guess it really didn't kind of matter in the end, but Triple H could have even jeopardized Rollins even further by putting his security in a handicap matchup against Dean Ambrose, and he knew it was a joke. He made a joke about it. So talk about being royally boned when the people who you got their job back by threatening to paralyze another man, I guess he used up the rope because Triple H is like, yeah, you're on your own, kid. That's real nice. So yeah, Seth Rollins is my low shot.
Yeah, I definitely can't necessarily disagree with that. But obviously I have to come up with my own. So, you know what? Just to kind of keep it a little bit more on the somber side here, my low shot's going to be Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of makes sense to me. He cut a very heartfelt promo, but it was sad, and he has to relinquish the belt. Well, doesn't have to, or at least he made it seem like he didn't have to. Kind of the same way how he made it seem like he really wanted that match with Triple H instead of the world title match at WrestleMania.
Right.
But yeah, I think that I just hope he gets back healthy. The main thing is that he's healthy. Coming back is secondary, but I hope they both happen in that order.
Definitely. I can't disagree with anything you've said here. I mean, the thing about
I hope that he gets healthy and then gets like 3 months to train and work and get back into ring shape and then comes back.
Definitely.
I want the exact opposite of him rushing back to happen.
Definitely. I want this to be very methodical, planned out, sketched out. Just take your time, be at ease. Yeah. And I mean, the thing about that low shot is we're not even talking, kayfabe anymore. This is a very real thing. So, I mean, you can't get a quote unquote better low shot than that. So I'll leave it at that. Completely agree with everything you said. My high spot. I'm in such a good mood after seeing this tonight. I've got to say it. My high spot is Neville.
Oh, you bastard.
Yeah, he had, I think, the match of his career thus far.
Oh, absolutely. His main event, main roster career.
Main roster career. Certainly, because he had Cena beat. They created that ambiguity, but even when you have somebody create ambiguity with Cena, I find that to be huge. I mean, for God's sakes, JBL on commentary even calls John Cena Big Match John. So when you know that Neville can come in and you raise questions about did he have Cena beat, that is huge. Yeah. And he wins by DQ, has a great open challenge with him. This guy's going to be a main eventer. I honestly, I'm so giddy and in such a good mood with Neville. I want to jump the gun and even say by next year he'll be in the main event. But I'm giving him that 2-year cushion to really build himself up.
All right.
But yeah.
Well, I think my high spot, I'm going to give an double honorary high spot actually, to Sheamus and Bad News Barrett. Sheamus for getting his shit in, and Barrett for winning his match against Ziggler.
Right.
And then my actual high spot's going to go to Dean Ambrose because he also won his match, which was a handicap match against a former hardcore champion and a former tag team champion, so you can't take anything away from it. And then he stood tall to end the show, which is really the big reason that I'm giving him this high spot.
Yeah, I really have to credit, first of all, great high spot. I knew you were going to, I wanted you to have that because it's Dean freaking Ambrose, baby. So, yeah.
Heel book, baby.
Yeah, heel book for life. But I love, too, that WWE, I think, felt the sense of urgency of giving Ambrose that credibility because he was really thrust in this matchup as close to last minute as you can get.
Yeah.
And for 2 weeks now, on separate occasions, he has stood tall, amongst the other 3 competitors. So I really like that.
I just hope that it's not like they're overcompensating because he's going to eat the pin on Sunday.
I really don't want him to eat the pin. If you want to do right by Ambrose, I'm not even asking him to win because I don't think anybody expects him to win. Don't let him eat the pin. I think Orton should eat the pin. I've said that before. So, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, great high spot. I loved our high spots and low shots this week again, with the exception of Daniel Bryan for very obvious reasons. Hope he gets better soon. But with that said, let's move on to our next segment. Raw request. I gotta say, man, my Raw request, I guess, is, whoever becomes Intercontinental Champion could be as early as Chamber, or maybe even as early as next week. I don't know what they're gonna do with it. But I hope the champion is kind of like John Cena in the sense that I don't want them to start their own Invitational, but have that championship defended regularly. I think they were going to with Bryan, so I don't want them to abandon that blueprint altogether with whoever the backup is. Have them go out, be a fighting champion, defend it on, Raws maybe every other week or something, definitely consistently at pay-per-views. Just let's get that Intercontinental Championship back on track with, at least somewhat on par with the U.S. title, because John Cena's just running away with it right now, and I'd like to see the Intercontinental title get some shine. So that's my Raw request. Whoever the champion is, get that Intercontinental title some shine on Raw, and just let's get back on track.
Absolutely. My Raw request is relatively simple. However, it seems so complex that the WWE has been completely unwilling to do it for years. Change up your format a little bit so that not every single opening segment is a freaking promo and not every single closing main event segment is a tag team or a handicap match.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be willing to accept a contract signing to close the show. At least that would feel different and unique. I mean, a promo to close the show, a one-on-one match, a championship match. Imagine that, a championship match main eventing a Raw, John. Could you even imagine?
I feel like John Cena's Open Challenge should main event a Raw one of these days.
It should have main evented this Raw, for God's sakes.
Imagine how great that would have made Neville look. Especially, like, I mean, yeah, they would have the Rusev interference, but I would have.
But then Rusev closes the show with a Russian flag?
Yeah, giving a guy like that who's really, his stock is kind of fallen a little bit. You know,
that's what I'm saying, though. Like, just stop with the what's the word? The repetitiveness. The redundancy, the every week having the same type of thing open and close your show. It makes me not want to watch. And last week they did a great thing with New Day being a part of the opener, but it was still a freaking promo.
Yeah. And you know, like, I mean, hell, even if you wanted to try and create some kind of compelling content or whatever, I mean, if you would have had Daniel Bryan close the show tonight, maybe you would have had the camera zoom in on the Intercontinental Championship in the middle of the ring to close the show. You would have been talking about the Intercontinental Championship, like, oh, what are they going to do about that? And, of course, Bryan and his status. Just, you know, I feel like you should never leave a show feeling mad. I can feel very negatively towards a heel or very anxious about the future, but never leave me feeling indifferent. I think that's the worst feeling you can have towards a product. And I just feel indifferent, you know, towards the main event and closing segments most of the time. Because even tonight, our main event was Randy Orton and Seth Rollins, two great athletes who have great chemistry. But you knew the match was going to get thrown out. You knew a DQ finish was coming, and it did. And you know, we had the ending that we did, which was fine. But, you know, spice things up a bit. Again, if John Cena's Open Challenge, if he main evented with Neville tonight, holy crap, what a main event segment that would have been. Like, you know, everybody would have been crazy. But, so, yeah, I completely co-sign to your Raw request. I just feel like things need to change.
There we go.
So, that was actually a relatively easy Raw request segment this week. I'm glad I didn't, you know, stall to try and think of one. So,